Was there a instance or time where you felt that building something quietly had a stronger outcome? We started working with the government and they developed a solution which is not only affordable but also it is stable at room temperature. This was a revolutionary drug that we were able to develop.
Arushi Jain, who is a leader that brings together finance, law, and pharma. She is leading strategy at Akans Drugs, which is India's biggest CDMO in pharmaceuticals. So if you look at the Indian CRDMO market, is supposed to grow by almost 7x by 2035. So what do you think is working for India?
India is one of the largest exporters of pharma generic even today. I think after the China plus one strategy that a lot of global companies are now employing, India is on a much more stronger advantage to kind of gain a bigger share of the pie. Are there any new skills that you've seen evolve in the last few years? In the last 3-4 years, we've seen the Indian pharma landscape evolve very quickly as compared to before. So there are hundreds of changes that the regulator is doing on an everyday basis now.
If you talk about the knowledge or the change in regulations that happen, how do you ensure that it happens the same way every single time?
There are challenges that keep coming up, but I think the key to all of this is
imagine a world where the biggest advances in healthcare are not coming out of billion-dollar labs, but from bold choices about affordability, ethics, and access, where a single pharmacy is taking on the high prices of branded drugs, and a visionary leader quietly transforms how India makes medicine, not only for the country, but for the world. Welcome back to Build with Shreya, where ideas and stories inspire you to build something extraordinary. Today, we have with us Arushi Jain, who is a leader that brings together finance, law, and pharma. She is leading strategy at Akans Drugs, which is India's biggest CDMO in pharmaceuticals. And earlier, she started Stay Happy Pharmacy, which is a generics first focused chain, making healthcare more affordable across the country. In this conversation, we are going to explore how India is becoming a leader in the pharmaceutical industry, why contract manufacturing and biologics are the future of global medicine, and our very favorite, how AI, automation, and better regulations are changing how the industry works. But before we get started, if you are someone who likes to solve problems using technology, make sure that you get a regular dose of our power pack content on technology, innovation, and leadership by subscribing our channel and clicking on the bell icon below.
So Arushi, was so excited to have you on the podcast today. Thank you so much. Looking forward to.
I've been reading through your journey and I was curious. You've had multiple careers, starting from finance to operations to entrepreneurship to strategy, and even though there have been these transitions, there's been sort of this very strong conviction when you made those choices. And I want to understand, like, what were your personal values early on? What experience did you have that sort of led you to take those decisions and be where you are today?
So, starting with my upbringing in my family, of course. So, since childhood, I've seen my grandfather, my father, and my uncle, hustle really hard. They are first generation entrepreneurs and, they have created everything from scratch, waking up early, having, very, very long work trips, coming back and taking work back home. Or just not so healthy, but basically, I've seen them working really, really hard throughout their lives. And even my mother um, is very hardworking. She cannot, not do anything. She has to constantly innovate small things. So I, got a lot of things from my family, of course. And then during my CA training, a lot of my team members and the working culture at EY, of course. I get a lot of my work ethic from those days. Bringing affordable medicines to India, something that was not done at the time. There was no set rules. Everything was new. So I had to learn everything from scratch, be it as a 24-year-old, be it people management, hiring people, or development of our app, our technologies, and marketing, branding, store merchandising. So, learning everything on the job was very exciting and fulfilling. And, there's a lot of exposure I got during that time.
So switching from audit to starting your generics first pharmacy chain is a big leap. So what did that conversation look like in your head? Like, what were you thinking?
So ever since I was a teenager, I always wanted to be in business, either work in my family business or start something of my own. So this was not a very complex conversation in my head, of course. Being around, the pharma ecosystem because of the family business, I saw a gap in the market that, there was not proper affordable generics that were available. And even though overall, if you look at the world context, India, this pharmaceutical is quite affordable, but still a lot of people are not able to afford medicines. I had my families and few of my mentors to guide me all throughout. So this conversation was not difficult.
So what does building with purpose mean to you?
So personally, I would say that the relationships and my family and friends bring purpose. Spending time with them, nurturing that bond that brings purpose to me. Professionally, I take homes. Every day knowing that you're working towards making quality medicines and innovating to make patients lives better in India and globally. I think that's a very strong purpose, and I resonate a lot with that. It's also about being able to see my team, everyone at ACOMS grow and evolve, while working with them, being able to contribute, bring so many jobs to, so many families. So I think all of this adds to the purpose, and you feel nice.
Was there a instance or time where you felt that building something quietly had a stronger outcome than something that was shared very outrightly in the public?
A recent example I would like to take is that of hydroxyurea. So, sickle cell anemia is a rare disease. So there was no proper medication to treat sickle cell. A medication used to be imported that was very very costly. So, our R&D team, after we identified this gap, and we started working with the government. Mission, and so our R&D team silently got to work, and they developed a solution which is not only affordable, 1/100th of the cost that we used to import, but also it is stable at room temperature. The earlier medicine used to be stable at 2 to 8 degrees, and it is not easily transportable, especially to tribal and rural areas where the sickle cell is most affecting people. So this was a revolutionary drug that we were able to develop, and as soon as we developed it, we informed the ministry because we were working with the government, and the health minister at the time he posted it on Twitter, and it got covered by so many publications. So even though we worked in silence, and we were working with the government directly, we had no intentions of publicizing it, but it got organically picked up, and now we're working with a lot of state governments um, to eradicate the sickle cell, and work with on the prime minister's vision.
So scaling a company like Ekums is not just an ops challenge. It's a system transformation. We're talking about thousands of SKUs, systems, a very fast growing global ecosystem. So what does scalability at Ekums look like today? It's definitely more about the mindset, not just the capacity, but also about like speed.
Yeah, you're right. If we talk about now, we have 15 plants, more than 1,500 clients, more than 4,000 SKUs. So definitely, managing the scale requires us to not only work on a lot of policies, procedures, but also it's how we enable all of these processes through technology, and how we bring technology and use it now more than ever to kind of transform and make everything more efficient. And this is what we're doing. So we look at every process, be it production planning, manufacturing, legal, finance, accounts, everything, and we see how the workflows can be automated. If we talk about ERP, so we have SAP since 2011. We have the QMS software called LIMS since 2007, and a lot of systems that we keep implementing and we've done in the last few years. So, with the objective to bring everything online, make everything efficient for the people behind. Because to manage the scale, if we believe that one person can manage this, that's not possible, and it's the systems and technology integrated underneath those systems that truly work for us.
No, absolutely. I mean, managing multiple sites, like even though you might have replicated the functional piece of it, but how to keep it all connected together and get a bigger picture out of it
Yeah.
to see if they're actually on aligned with the purpose of the company. I think that itself is
Yeah.
something that's only possible with technology today.
And I think training is also very important. So we constantly train our people, especially on the shop floor, to kind of update them, revise everything, bring them everyone on board with the updating vision of the company time to time, and new systems and technologies that we keep bringing in.
Now that you talk about training people, are there any new skills that you've seen evolve in the last few years with workers on the shop floor or systems that you're using across the company?
So, pharma is a very dynamic industry, and a lot of regulations, a lot of procedures, practices is globally and in India keeps changing. So, and especially in the last 3, 4 years, we've seen the Indian pharma landscape evolve very quickly as compared to before. So there are hundreds of changes that the regulator, Indian pharma regulator, is doing on an everyday basis now. Everyone on the shop floor is required to be updated. So, I think what we do is, of course, number one, train them constantly and do refresher trainings, give them a quick note, paste it on their respective working places to help them.
If you talk about the knowledge or the change in regulations that happens and is informed probably in one department, let's say is a compliance department, for it to seep into the bottom of the pyramid, where the front line, where the worker is actually implementing individual production line tasks. So how does that specifically happen? How do you ensure that it happens the same way every single time? Are there any challenges there?
Yeah, of course, there are challenges that keep coming up. But I think the key to all of this is making things simpler. You have to break down everything in small pieces and parts and explain to the end worker in a very, objective, simple, step-to-step manner. We also have a, independent QA team, as with all the pharma companies, that ensures if things are happening that way, and independent training team that keeps training people, and in cross functional audits also keep happening. So since we have more than 1,500 clients, what is also a very regular thing for ACOMS is to face a lot of customer audits, regulator audits, with that scale. Every employee is well aware that everything has to be as it is, everything has to be transparent. So they are prepared for it. So you talked about mindset at the onset. So we also try to inculcate, a mindset of transparency, a mindset of compliance over convenience. That is also done again through daily stand-up meetings and weekly trainings.
And how does ECMS deal with global regulations? Like, since your products also go in the international market, how does that work?
So there are a few things that are very important for India and for ACOMS, when we talk about the global pharma market and exporting. Number one is, of course, regulatory compliance. We need to constantly update ourselves with various regulatory changes across US FDA, TGA, UGMP, and how do we synchronize all of that in our plants? All of these regulatory bodies are independent, and they take out independent updations. So it's important to update yourself and to follow these regulatory compliances. Secondly, it's about how do we control the intellectual property and the confidentiality and the data access. A lot of global companies, they are very conscious about their IP protection, and it's about how we as ACOMs and as industry we're able to create IP safe development zones and data confidentiality integrity through systems and technology, to give them comfort. And thirdly, I think now the global companies have started seeing us as innovators and co-development allies, as opposed to just a manufacturer. So innovation is something that we're trying to build up more in the last 5 years. And we have recently got a lot of opportunities to develop products for the global markets, European markets, and we have also gotten a lot of strategic partnerships across Africa, Middle East, Latin America, and Europe.
So if you look at the Indian CRDMO market, it is supposed to grow by almost 7x by 2035. And specifically, within Indian manufacturing capabilities, right? So what do you think is working for India? And why do you think India can actually, end up becoming a global hub for this market?
India is one of the largest, exporters of pharma generic even today, and I think after the China plus one, strategy that a lot of global companies are now employing, India is on a much more stronger advantage to kind of gain a bigger share of the pie. Indian government has also been focusing on API local manufacturing, which earlier was a forte that China had really worked upon, and I think that is also going to help India to strengthen its backward integration, its raw material, and hence development of new products of APIs and hence the formulations. So basically, number one is the global scenario considering China is really going to help India. Number two, local API manufacturing has significantly ramped up. That has already started helping the country. And thirdly, I think we need to really unite as a pharma ecosystem and talk about the good work we've done, the quality manufacturing we've done, the new innovations that we've brought in the world, to kind of break the recent stereotypes about quality and compliances that Indian pharma industry has gone through and faced in the world. So we need to reunite and work towards talking about that also. And I think we really need to upscale the workforce as well. So, considering how fast we're going to ramp up, there's a need of skilled pharma professionals, both blue collared, white collared, and private and government need to work together to achieve that. We need at least 1.2 lakh pharma professionals that are skilled in manufacturing and R&D and QA in the coming years. So that's a big number. And we as ACOMs have also launched a skill development center in Haridwar through our CSR, and we've skilled more than 5,000 people in the last few months, out of which it's up to them whether to join any company or ACOMs. So that is one thing we've done for the ecosystem. But having said that, we need a lot of skilled professionals to ramp up and reach the global markets, and tap into it at the scale that the world is also expecting us to.
So you said that there needs to be a unified voice for the pharma company sort of coming together and discussing how we can become a pioneer in the global market as the Indian Pharma Union, if I may say. The other thing is about having more skilled workers. What else do you think the Indian pharma ecosystem can benefit from? Whether it's a company-based innovation, whether it is system, whether it is processes. Where do you think, when we compare to the global players, other global players in other countries, what is it that we can do better to match up to that? We might be there already, but in the aspects we are not.
What we need to do, apart from what I mentioned, is number one, we can have an open, transparent dialogue with the global regulatory agencies to know in advance what are going to be the upcoming changes so that we can modify our processes and systems in time to comply. And there needs to be some systems that we need to build to quickly work on non-compliances and CAPAs. Secondly, I think what will help ACOMS and the pharma industry of India in general is that how do we unify the manufacturing that is done domestically and internationally? What I mean here is that how do we, because a lot of companies sell the same products domestically and export from the same plant. So what is important is that we follow similar compliances and we follow same quality standards to manufacture both domestic and international products. That really helps at the ground level, once we're able to achieve that, I think India and ACOMS will be at a great advantage to export globally and capture the global market.
So I love the playfulness of good pop rocks. It reminded me that healthcare is not just about science; it's about also joy, empathy, right? So, what is it that inspired you to build a nutritional supplement into something like good pop rocks?
What we observed is that nutraceuticals, while it is growing and people are more aware of their healthcare needs, they are doing more blood tests and diagnosis. So they want to consume nutraceuticals, but there is a challenge that they find nutraceutical too boring and like medicine. So there is a connotation attached to tablets. So we wanted to bring some fun formats. So, well, Good Pop Rocks is mouth melting powder with a little bit of pops. That is really great option for kids as well as adults who are bored of pharma like regimens. I think this is a fun way to get your vitamins, minerals. I think when you enjoy something, you're more tending to make it a habit. So that is why mouth melting powders, as well as gummies, is something that we launched last year. So gummies, mouth melt powders, effervescent powders, mouth melts. These are new formats that we innovate to make nutraceutical more fun, more convenient, so that they are able to have it and make it a habit.
So, since Ackams is already quite scaled up, you have a big roadmap, when it comes to your products. So, what are some of the new product lines that you've been planning?
Innovation is at the heart of what we do at ACOMS. We're constantly innovating to make patients' lives better in terms of convenience or, stuff like taste masking, fun formats, better absorption, better bioavailability. So whether be it pharmaceutical formulations or skincare or nutraceuticals, sometimes we also want to bring something exciting that's happening in the globe, in the country. So we also do strategic partnerships. A recent strategic partnership we've done is with the CareGen. So we're bringing peptides for hair and for skin to India. So better hair growth, more shining and more plump skin. They have their patented technology that we're really excited because Indian market, whether be it skincare or nutraceuticals, is rapidly growing, post COVID, and so we really want to tap into it. Apart from that, we have a team of 400 plus R&D scientists and 4 R&D centers, and we constantly work on new technologies. We have 22 proprietary technologies, and we do about 50 to 100 new products every year and bring new dosage forms. A recent few dosage forms that we've launched are triple release tablet. So there are 3 different profiles in one single tablet. So that is a particular kind of tablet that will be the first one to launch in the country. Then we're also just launched nasal sprays, and we also started lyophilized injections.
So, at Ecums, where have you seen digital transformation create the major impact? And where do you see the next leap of innovation coming from? Are there any specific digital tools that you have employed or you plan to employ to make your systems more inclusive, more connected?
it is all about digital, going forward. Any organization that is not working on digital systems and processes um, will not scale at a pace of an organization that will, right? So at Ecom's, what we're doing is we're trying to take a lot of the manual processes that are there and digitize them one by one. Um, Even though we're using SAP, ERP, and LIMS since 2011 and 2007, but there's the whole digital journey, is a long way to go. Some processes that have brought about big impact in terms of our journey is digitization of the supply chain. With ERP and other small workflows that we've added, it really helps us optimize our inventory and plan our production. So our production planning has become really effective after some tools custom made that we have employed, because we make 1,000 batches every month. We have 15 facilities, and across those 15 facilities we have 60 plus dosage forms, and from smallest of batches to very huge batches that run for days. There's a lot more complexity that we have to run, and those tools helping us scale and make the system more efficient and more transparent. We are able to analyze the data that way and take better data driven decisions also. So one would be supply chain, second would be production planning, and thirdly, what we've done is that we have given customized dashboards to a lot of the functions across the company, in head office and across plants, in API and formulation plants, and so every manager has their own customized dashboard, and they are able to see what was to be done, what is done, take data driven decisions, which has made things easier from top to bottom. And I think this is where technology has played a huge role in making our decisions more smarter and more efficient. Thirdly, digital transformation has helped us in case of regulatory compliance. It's tracking better adherence, timely adherence, and tracking the gaps, if any, because again, the scale and the physical scale is huge. Also, having said that, digital transformation is a journey. We are very determined from top to bottom. All of our teams are aligned, and we understand that it is a time-taking process and it requires change management and a lot of aligning and tuning within the teams time to time. But we are very committed to the digital journey at Ecos.
So, if we talk about the startup culture in India, a lot of founders are trying to solve problems firsthand, developing certain solutions from it. If I were to ask you in your specific industry, do you think there are certain spaces or problem statements they can start researching on?
So I think when it comes to pharma and healthcare, there's a plenty of scope across the whole ecosystem. When we talk about the entire patient journey, so currently it is in fragments. So patient visits a clinic, visits a hospital, goes to the pharmacy. All of this is very fragmented for the patient to manage at one place. So there's a lot of scope in digitizing and making things simpler for the patient, to bring it all in one place, for the doctors to see what all the patient has been prescribed, what all the patient has gone through over the years, to be able to prescribe better, solve the disease, or all the disease, coming it together. So that is one area. Secondly, the digital management of the hospitals and the primary care centers is something that is happening. There are some startups doing that. However, there's a lot of scope in terms of penetration to smaller hospitals, nursing centers, and primary healthcare clinics of the government, across the states. And how do we take the facilities and the technologies and the skill set of doctors and experts that we have here in big cities like Delhi, Bombay, Hyderabad, to smaller areas using digital? That is a very important aspect, and that will help democratize healthcare and bring those skills to the patients who cannot come. And digital technology is something that we can now leverage that and take it to scale. Okay. Thirdly, when it comes to pharmaceutical, technology can be used in research and development. There are a lot of talks about AI and R&D globally, and even even though India is progressing, but I think there's a lot of scope in terms of ACOMS and the entire industry in formulations and API, using AI in research and development of new molecules and new formulations.
So carbon tax has become a thing specifically for the European region. With it coming in the picture from the next year, the European region companies would want to know exactly what the carbon footprint is looking like for their suppliers. So, what does sustainability look like at ECOMS, and what are the different steps that you have taken in that direction?
Sustainability at ACOMS is a core principle. However, we have a long way to go. Particularly, we have implemented a lot of steps when it comes to energy management, and we have employed new infrastructure that is energy efficient, and we are using biofuels and alternate fuels and solar electricity, and that has significantly reduced our carbon footprint across facilities. Secondly, we focused a lot on our water consumption. We have significantly reduced fresh water consumption, and we have very sophisticated water treatment and water effluent management plants, and which has not only reduced our consumption, but we also recycle and reuse water in different ways across all our formulation and API facilities. Thirdly, we give sustainability training across formulation and API plants, and try to incorporate sustainability in the minds of everyone. When it comes to procurement, we look at prioritizing sources that are more sustainable and that are more eco-friendly in terms of packaging and in terms of raw materials as well.
As a women entrepreneur in India, specifically in the tech domain, I started very specific, from being a coder and then sort of branching out a little into, building products, which is a little more generalist, and then going on to understand the finance department, marketing and sales, again becoming more generalist. And that's how my journey has been. But tell us how your journey has been, and like what ideas do you have for young women who want to start something of their own?
I think both are important. It is important for you to learn every aspect, so as to have a broader perspective and take better decisions. So you need to know a little bit of finance, a little bit of legal, a little bit of the entire landscape, what's happening globally, what's happening in India. Also have a little bit of regulatory and compliance aspect, a little bit of research and development idea when it comes to pharma. That is a core pillar. However, you need to hold your fort, and you need to also say that I want to have some sort of expertise in one area, either that is manufacturing. I want to know everything, how are tablets, so, capsules, how is everything manufactured, where can efficiencies being built in, or it could be research and development, understanding and looking at what new products can be brought in, or it could be something like regulatory compliance, because all of these fields are very complex and dynamic in their sense. So I think anyone in pharma who's thinking of entering or is in pharma needs to know the entire landscape, as well as hold one of the specialized fields, and strive to know more and more about it.
So more like a T-shaped individual.
Yeah, more like a T-shaped individual.
So let's say that you have a blank slate to design the future of India pharma ecosystem. What is the absolute necessary thing that you would include, and what will you leave behind?
I think, given an opportunity, I would like to redesign India's pharma landscape to be more agile, more IP friendly, more collaborative, and more innovation friendly. First is like a better and collaborative clinical trial registry online platform, for new clinical trials to be registered, to take place, their progress to be updated time to time to the government. That is one. Secondly, how do we make IP protection better? India currently has a weak IP system as compared to some of our global counterpart countries. And as we are focusing more on innovation and the global pathway, that really needs to strengthen. So, how can we build a better IP system for the pharma industry? Is something government needs to work on. Thirdly, we need to work on more creating more skilled individuals who can work in the pharma industry, either be it regulatory compliance, be it research and development, be it manufacturing, be it QA. There's a strong need of inculcating more skills in the pharma professionals and building 1 lakh to 1.5 lakh workforce to kind of for the increasing pharma demand that the industry has. Also, I think we need to really work and partner with the industry, needs to partner with the academia, with the startups, and with the government to kind of develop and work on newer ideas, newer molecules that will foster innovation and also motivate young talent that is going to come to the industry to kind of start working on the job.
So, what do you think are the new skills that the new talent that's entering the industry needs to start learning?
I think they need to know about the Indian landscape, the global regulatory landscape. Then they need to know how quality can be built in manufacturing. So, knowing about quality assurance is very important. They need to know about the importance of ethical and transparent practices in pharma. They need to know about different manufacturing techniques that are there and that are upcoming, and newer trends are happening globally.
So, what is one boardroom buzzword that you love, and which one do you think we can retire?
I secretly love the word growth, of course. Who doesn't like growth, or whether it's in terms of numbers or it's in terms of, one growing personally, growing teams. Yeah. One word that I think is overused and overhyped, and I would like to retire is, valuations. Last few years, it's all been about, startup valuations, even though for years they've not been profitable. So I think valuation is good as long as the bottom line looks positive.
So, would you start something from scratch or would you scale that already exists?
Okay, that's a tough one. So I've been on both journeys, right? And I really thoroughly enjoyed the process of building something from scratch. It's a different journey. You have to do everything. You learn so many new things every day. But I think it's also important to learn how to scale. It's not easy. It requires a lot of discipline, patience, and consistency. So currently, I'm learning how to scale, and it also requires a lot of technology usage and a lot of people and trust on people. So yeah, can't choose between these two.
Legacy or disruption? Which one would you choose?
I would say legacy because legacy has a strong foundation, a lot of trust. This is what I see in Acoms, right? But having said that, disruption is also important. I would rather say innovation. Innovation with purpose is important along with legacy to kind of continue on a path of growth in the ever dynamic industry and ecosystem.
One digital or tech tool that you cannot function without, personally or professionally?
I'm a spreadsheet girl. I think, in terms of Excel and columns and rows, and I cannot survive without Excel. But last few years, Zooms and Teams have also been very integral part of our working.
Okay. So you're stuck on a delayed flight with a 20-year-old self. What advice do you think you will give to them in 30 seconds?
Trust your instinct, believe in yourself, and don't hesitate to ask for help.
One book or quote that you swear by.
I think two books have really personally helped me and their learnings help me every day, even now, are Atomic Habits and The Secret. I really believe in the power of manifestations. And when it comes to Atomic Habits, I think breaking down your daily, routine and habits and how to inculcate something that you want to do every day in us by associating it with a particular habit really helps when it comes to personal life or your health or your professional life. I think everyone should read and implement both of these books.
Okay. Considering all of the big action plans for ECMS, I'm sure it must be a very challenging day at work. So, how do you rejuvenate? How do you rewind for the next day?
I think after a long day, what really helps me is a good workout and a small walk in the park and connecting with nature, listening to my music. That really helps me calm down and get ready for the next day.
So, we have come to an end for a podcast with Arushi, and we learned great things about the pharmaceutical industries and manufacturing in India for the globe. So, let's keep an eye on the market with the new innovations and the new ways of working that are coming in, and see you next time.